Okay, so we're live now, and I'm Laura Jane. So happy to be here for this Parenting Boost conversation series with my amazing friend, Tangee. I'm learning to say your next part's your name, Zenryka. Is that how I say it?
Yes.
Oh my God, what a gorgeous name, Veloso. Isn't it funny how you can be friends with people for years, but sometimes you're like, oh yeah, how do you say your last name? Actually, yeah. I find that out when I get on video with people. I'm like, oh, I need to do that now. Yes. Hello. And
Hi.
where in the world are you today?
Right now, I am in Santa Monica, California.
So you guys are an LA family, and I think your son is nearby, right?
Yes, he's right over here.
How old is he now?
He is 11 and a half. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, he's going to be 12 in January.
Oh man. Yeah. Cheers to that. And yeah, thank you for all that you've been doing for many years now. And I remember when we first met probably like 5 years ago through our friend Kim Summers Egglesey,
Yeah.
the Eternal Connector. Um,
Yes.
that I realized we had some things in common, and I just have loved what I've heard you've been doing with your family villages that you've been creating all over the place in community and festivals, and your book that you've written, and the ways that you're helping moms, and just sharing who you are so authentically. So yeah, thank
Mhm.
you for what you've already been doing for parents.
Thank you. It's my passion.
Yeah, and I've watched you, as I've been aiming to do too, just get so even more clear and laser focused, right? It seems with the ways that you see you want to help, and just showing up and being yourself, and being brave about being your unique, fiery self, right? And that you're so creative. And I think that's what really attracts people to you, that you're like walking the talk of seeming to be loving your life and creating something with your son that sounds like you both really are loving it. So that's amazing that you're sharing that example. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for that. And yeah, for anyone who's with me for this parenting conversation series I've allowed through, it's really just my wanting to see what we can do to help parents right now, to fill parents well with some inspiration, some ideas, some thoughts at this time, whether we've got kids in school in various ways, or we call ourselves homeschoolers, whatever ages our kids may be, that right now is really challenging and different, right? With the restrictions, with the pandemic, with the education changes, and concerns about all of our mental health. So I just wanted to get on with people like you, Tangee, and see what you're thinking about, how you might want to share some ideas as you've been even, dealing with this yourself and helping others. Yeah, so thank you for being here for this
Yes, yes, thank you.
effort to just support parents at this time and supporting their
Right.
kids. Yeah, so but I find, yeah, I'm liking to start these with, if you have a way you like to, and however long you want to take to tell it, in how do you like to tell, how did you get to being this kind of mom, this kind of educator and even influencer with sharing those things? Yeah, how do you like to share how you found yourself here?
Well, it was when my son was actually, I've always been passionate about conscious parenting since he was in the womb. So when I was pregnant, I was really being very conscious of what I was eating. I had to actually be very conscious of what I was eating. And I originally wanted to have a home birth and a natural home birth. And unfortunately, the OBGYN I went to, said she was holistic, but she really wasn't. And I don't think she liked the idea that I was going to be doing a home birth and not going with her.
Yeah.
So she told me to take this glucose test. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was just following her instructions.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing the research myself. And so I think I see that as a gift now, but she told me to take this test 20 weeks early, and it was a glucose test. And I was eating a lot of fruit at that time. I was just, I was craving fruit. And so I was eating a lot of sweets. And then, and it was right before that. It was my sister's birthday. I remember it was a surprise birthday party, and I was just pineapple, apples, with all these fruits I kept on eating. And then that Monday, I had to take a test, and I didn't pass. I was 1 point away from passing, but because I didn't pass, I had to really be careful, mindful of what I was eating, because if I didn't pass the second time, I wouldn't be able to have a home birth.
Ah,
Yeah, so I see that as a gift now because it brought me on this journey of really being more aware of not just listening to what doctors say and listening, also doing my research, doing diligent research for myself and for my son and for our family. And so that was a true gift at that moment.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that began that journey. And then also, when my son was 7 months old, he ended up having blood and blood crystals in his urine.
Mm,
And I cloth diapered. So I was very much into cloth diapering, wooden toys, just being very eco friendly.
yeah.
And none of the doctors could figure out. I had a naturopath uh, pediatrician, and she couldn't even figure it out. So she told me to go to a regular doctor. They did blood tests, urine tests, stool tests, nothing. We couldn't tell what was going on. So I went to an NET, a neuroemotional technique,
Yeah.
kinesiologist chiropractor,
Ah,
and he was able to muscle test and do all these things. He's like, it's the wheat and gluten in your breast milk and cow dairy.
ah.
And so I had to go on a whole elimination diet for 30 days. I was only able, I don't know how I got protein. I think the universe was supporting me at that point, but I was only able to have steamed veggies and white rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I would tally and log everything, what
Oh
was
my God.
going in, yeah, and to see if he would be affected by anything. So truthfully, that OBGYN gave me a gift because it brought me to that journey of really being mindful of
Yeah.
everything that we're putting in our bodies, I'm putting my son, because it's through the breast milk. And
Ah,
then I read this book called Connection Parenting by Pam Leo.
mm.
And it has 7 chapters, and there's exercises at the end of each chapter. And I was just so inspired by the book. He was an infant. He couldn't even walk yet. And I emailed the author. She was sick at the time. So her partner, Carmine, he responded. They did workshops together. And he responded, and I said, "Do you have any workshops in LA?" And he said, "No, unfortunately, we don't." And I said, "Well, how can I start one?"
Ah,
Because this needs to be in LA. And
yes.
so he mentored me. And I sent out an email to like 30 families, said, "Who would like to join me on this journey, reading this book together, getting together once a week?" That time, it was doable because our kids were infants. They weren't mobile yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so 3 families participated, responded. I think at that time I didn't have the capacity to facilitate 30 families yet.
Right. I
Yet,
bet. Yeah.
yet. I did afterwards with Family Love Village. It expanded into that for
Yeah.
festivals, like you were saying. But we
Uh,
would get together once a week. We would read the chapters. We would do the exercises. And then I said, "How would you guys like to support each other even more?" And I actually had a guest speaker at the end of the winter solstice
uh,
celebration. I had a guest speaker that came in. And then afterwards, we wanted to support each other. So that began the journey of Family Love Village. And we would have monthly potluck gatherings where we would
oh,
have guest speakers that would talk about conscious parenting, holistic living, being more sustainable and eco-friendly. So that began the journey. Yeah.
oh, wow. Oh, I love hearing more about that because I hadn't even heard about some of those specifics you've been doing for so long with what you've been creating a community. And I love how you pointed out in the way you told that how conscious parenting involves things like doing our research
Yeah.
and being more mindful. And I think you're so obviously right on and just sharing your story, but so many of us come to it because of things like maybe some specific need, like a health issue with our kid or ourselves, right? It maybe is something that gets us becoming more conscious. Absolutely, right? So
Yeah.
I love how you share that story. It really helps tell the story even of what conscious parenting can look like,
Yeah.
and right, and what that really means and involves.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's
Wow.
so many different levels of conscious parenting. It's from what we're putting in our bodies, how we're connecting with our children. That's a huge one. That's my passion, is how are we creating a deeper connection with our children and ourselves, our self-love, healing the inner wounds of our inner child. And that's what, is based on my book, Taming Your Wild Child. 7 Proven Principles for Raising Connected and Confident Children. It's not about taming our children's behavior. It's about taming the inner wounded child of our upbringing and our recycled parenting patterns that are no longer serving us and our parents.
Wow, I love how you say that, recycled parenting patterns that are no longer serving us. Wow, that is so beautiful. Oh, I absolutely agree that that is where it's at, and I didn't even realize that was the focus of your book. I just knew that it sounded amazing, and isn't that so true? And then I love that you share, and I feel like that's my main philosophy I've gained too in these approaches with parenting is making it about our connection with our kids. And I love how you say it even more beautifully, that our connection, a deep connection with our kids as well as with ourselves, right? And that they go together, and that our connection with ourselves is absolutely influencing our connection with our children. Oh, wow. And I mean, and how important have you found that? I mean, I know obviously you see it's important to have community as a parent, and to find community, and even to fill ourselves with more ideas, more information, more resources, like through having the guest speakers like you have. Like, will you talk a little bit about how you've seen that affect parents in just adding that to their lives and experiences? Anything that you want to share? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Oh,
my son and I are sharing. We're at my sister's house, so we're waiting for my car to get fixed. So we can share. So,
this is like, that's what's
so
authentic
parenting
about
is,
me.
right? This is
It's like, exactly. It's like, this is what a connected family life might look like, is when mom's on a call, he's there too, and his experience is just as important as yours, right? So absolutely. I love hearing him. It's so cute.
Hold on one second.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. We can do that, right? We know family life. We know family life.
I hear you, baby, but I'm on an interview right now. So if we could go into the bathroom. Okay, but if you want
I think
to,
this is a good teachable moment for moms.
Yeah, this is.
It is. Well, because that just,
This is where I needed to.
He's as important as this. That's what we're saying here, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're having to share space. So this is it. This is real life, and
this is real life pandemic, and even not turning it into a reason to like get grumpy with him, right? Or to act like he should know, or what he needs is any less important than what we're doing here. So I think this is like, it's actually such a teachable moment, like
it's huge,
how we're handling this. And I feel the same way. I'm like, absolutely, please attend to your son. We're here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I have to.
So good.
This is life. This is real. This is true. It's
it
like,
really is.
especially during this global awakening. Like, and right now I'm at my sister's because my car's in the shop.
Yeah.
And she's been letting us stay here for the last few weeks while my car is being worked on.
Right?
Yeah. And so she was actually taking care of my cat while I was in Austin, Texas, because my son and I are moving there. And so she was watching him, and I was there looking for a place to live. And I came back, and she went to go get my car fixed for me, thankfully. I love my sister. So that's what we're dealing with, is being in a living room right now.
It's family life.
Yeah.
And that's what you're just, really, that was such a teachable moment, I think, right there for parents. It's like community. And I was just even thinking, like, I love how you've called your group gatherings that you've been doing for families the Family Love Village, right? And that the word village, right? Because that's one of those things we've always heard, the whole, it takes a village to raise a child, or at least some of us have heard it for a while, but then a lot of us aren't actually giving ourselves that or experiencing that. And that's what can make it even harder, especially right now. And then thinking with what you've created. And that was my question, was how, if you would just speak a little bit on what you've noticed, how that impacts families and moms and kids when they do get that chance to be in community, and parents are getting a chance to fill their wells and be with other parents and have a village experience. Like, will you speak?
I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that I co-created that already because actually in the beginning, like when my son was not beginning, but when my son was 4, I became a single mom. So
Mm-hmm.
it was, I was so grateful that I had co-created that community for the separation before my son's dad and I separated. And so I was able, and with the homeschooling community, that was huge for me because while I was starting to build my life again after 18 years of being with, my son's dad, and it was me reinventing myself, reinventing who am I? Who is Tangee? Because I was a wife, I was a mom, I was all these different things. And now I was like, I felt alone. Even
Uh-huh.
though I had community, I felt alone
Yeah.
because I didn't actually, even though I had community, there were no other single moms in my
Yeah.
community at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they couldn't fully resonate, they couldn't fully relate to what I
Yeah.
was going through, but they were 100% there for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
am so grateful for that. Community is, and we talk about it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to raise the whole village, the family unit. Like I
Um,
feel it's so important because we're also having to deal with our own inner wounded children.
yeah. Right.
And a lot of times we don't face that. We don't look at that. We don't look at our triggers. When we're getting triggered, it's never really about the child. It's never really about the other person. It's
Mm,
usually about our own inner wounds. And that is actually a gift for us to see. That's like the beacon. That's like the red flag when we get triggered. Okay, that's that's where we can do the inner work, where we didn't feel loved and accepted and appreciated growing up. So
I'm
it's
so thankful that you're saying this. And I feel like this is such a valuable conversation right now because imagining probably more families are having more time together, tighter quarters, less to do. Like it's so even more so parents, and then even parents who are now feeling like they're going to need to be helping with their kids' schooling in new ways and maybe stressed about that. So to be reminding at this time that let the triggering that might be happening to see it like that. Remember, it's triggering us because it's about our inner issues and wounds and then finding ways to support ourselves with that, right? Like
yes.
knowing that we're going through like a process of being a parent, psychotherapy itself. Yeah. So, I mean, what are some of your thoughts on like, I guess that's a specific way to go at this time for parents who are in that situation, maybe getting more triggered, having less support, less community. What are some of your thoughts? Or do you even know? Are you even running any things right now where parents can find that? Um, yeah, what would you say on that?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's all about finding time for self-love,
Yeah,
self-care. That's another huge thing for me that I'm advocating with conscious parenting
yeah,
is conscious parenting ourselves. It's like
100%.
finding ways to bring that self-care, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditating, whether it's getting out in nature. I know we can't do a lot of different things right now because we're limited, but it's finding ways to create that sacred space for ourselves. So
Mm,
whether it's dancing, have a dance party, get your kids involved in the dance party, get your kids involved in the fun, making it fun. It's so important. Like I've also found like with my homeschooling journey, like it's not easy. It's definitely not easy with
mhm.
homeschooling, but I chose this journey when I was pregnant. My son said and I chose this journey because we wanted to be able to have where my son was supported in his passions. His
Mm.
passions are important and child led, not this in the box where it's a one size fits all because it's not. And I knew at a very young age, I could barely even put his cloth diapers on. I'm thankful it wasn't back in the 50s with those big pins. So I just knew my son, and I realized later on when he was, and he's got energy, he's got lots of energy, and I realized that's me. I'm my animal totem is a hummingbird. So I'm just like, and I feel that I accomplish a lot in my life because I'm a hummingbird. So we tend to look. I know I'm going on a tangent, but I think this is
No, it's
important.
perfect. Go on, go on.
Yeah, I feel that we look at our children and their personalities or their attributes or their um, characterizations as sometimes bad or misbehaving, or they're speaking out, or anything like that as a bad thing. But it's really, that's their person, that's their beautiful essence, and who they're going to be as an adult. Like, it's so
Mhm.
important to water the flowers in our children than watering the weeds, really watering them, seeing all the beauty in them. And
Ooh.
I know I went on a tangent. I hope I
No,
answered
no,
the
keep
question.
going. You're on a tangee.
Yes.
No, it's good. It's exactly what I feel like parents could absolutely hear. It's perfect. Yeah. Will you talk more about? I love what you just said about water the flower versus the weeds.
Yeah, yeah, that I got that from Eileen Val Essen. I hope I'm not saying her name wrong, but she is the author of "Bring Out the Best in Your Child and Yourself." I know I'm not saying exactly, but it's an
Huh?
amazing, amazing book. My friend
Okay.
Lee, remember Lee? My friend
Oh
Lee.
yeah.
Yeah, see so much.
I'm actually getting on with her tomorrow to
Oh,
do this.
that's awesome! Perfect, perfect. Yes, so I actually she did a workshop on this, and I took her workshop, and
Okay.
so it's the whole concept of watering the flowers and not always seeing the bad things in our children, and pointing out, oh, you did this and you did this wrong and you did this and why are you doing this? It's like watering, going, wow, like today we're going hiking after this. And I asked him, I said, can you make us our sandwiches? Because I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. I've got to get ready for the interview and doing this. And at first he's like, ugh, and like, okay, so I could have been like watering the weeds, going, you know what? I'm always doing everything. Why can't you help out? Instead, I'm like, wow, thank you, Bubs. Thank you so much for making the sandwiches. I know at first you're like, I don't want to, but I really appreciate your help with this. It really helps me to do what I need to get done, especially as a single parent. Like, with your help, and it's like really, watering those flowers with your help, it's allowing me to be more present, it's allowing me to get things done, and then that also allows me to be in a better space within myself.
Uh, wow. And it's such a teachable moment right there where we're
Yeah.
teaching our kids so much about how to express oneself and even how to be thankful with someone we love. And I love it. So respectful and it really, I think it's so important to bring this up too, because it does affect the psychology of our children, right? And how they start to perceive themselves, whether we're watering the weeds or the flowers. And I do feel like a lot of parents, we think it's our job to look for the weeds and point them out, because maybe that's just our job as the parent, right? Because
Right,
maybe we're helping them by seeing where they're weak and helping them fix that. But
right,
right, and so but instead to, or weak, or whatever the word would be, um more weed like. Weeds actually aren't weak, but
right.
oh, that's so beautiful and important. And again, I think exactly what parents want to remember right now, while they're probably with their kids more, while they're having maybe even more intense moments, and how they really want to handle it, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then it comes from our self-love. That's why I think that
Right.
was perfectly said, what you just said, that when we're doing those things to whatever it is to feel better and to care for ourselves, we have more energy to respond like that, right?
Yes, yes. I feel like when we're filling up our love cup, we're
Mm.
able to be more conscious of being able to meet the needs of our children as well. And self-love is so important, and I feel like doing the inner work is important. So I feel like it's also about journaling, the meditating, if that's something that people are into, finding whatever it is that you're passionate
Yep.
about to get your love
Uh,
cup filled. It's huge. It's
mm,
important. Dancing, tai chi, martial arts, whatever it is, exercising, whatever it is, doing that thing daily, so that you can be more, when your love cup is filled, you can be okay. Now I'm in a space that I feel good. Okay, I can be more present with my children. I can be more present with my partner. And I also feel that it's also about educating ourselves, like
mhm.
constantly educating ourselves. Just because I wrote a book, and just because I've led masterminds for single moms, just because I've done all that doesn't mean that I'm all almighty, and like there's not more room to grow and evolve my relationship with my son. Like,
Mm.
it's not about my son being, I can't wait till he's 18 and he's out of the house. No, I want my son to stay or if he wants to. But it's about building that relationship forever. We're going to be parents for the rest of our lives. It's not just when they're 18 and they're out the door. It's for the rest of their lives, for the rest of our lives. How can we be better versions of ourselves so that we can model that for our children to be better versions of themselves?
Oh, so beautifully said. Wow. And I love how you say to fill up our own love cup.
Yeah.
It really is a great analogy, and because it then you feel like, oh, then because of course then you can see how you have more to pour or
Yes.
share or give. Oh,
Yes.
you have such great ways of saying things. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, and as I see, we're at like maybe the last 4 or 5 minutes if we stay on time. Is there anything specific or anything that you'd want to say at this time more towards parents in these times or anything along those lines? Just giving you time and space for that.
I definitely feel it's like I mentioned, it's educating ourselves. It's really looking, researching, and being willing, having the will to and be open to learning more tools on how to communicate more
Mm.
consciously with ourselves, how to communicate more consciously with our children, and how we can create more consciously with others and the planet. Like right now, we're in this global awakening, even though it seems, again, I feel like everything is a gift. Even the negative experiences in our life is a gift for our evolution. And I feel like the planet and the world and the state that we're in is for us to wake up and start really doing the inner work, the shadow work, facing that stuff, not hiding or medicating or escaping, but really facing our stuff that we have here in this and seeing where these triggers are coming from and healing those triggers. Not saying, not to dwell in those triggers, not to dwell in like, oh, this is what happened as a child, and so this is the way I am. No, it's taking radical responsibility. So it's not becoming a victim of our circumstances, but taking radical responsibility and doing whatever it takes to move through these shifts as better versions of ourselves. And I believe that's educating ourselves, researching, and doing the inner work.
Mm. Oh, so eloquent. Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love everything that's come through here. I feel like it's so helpful and inspiring to parents of all ages and stages, including me. And what are some ways that people can follow you right now? And are you doing anything like any group coaching or anything that people might want to know about, or one-on-one options if people wanted to reach
Yeah,
out?
thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do offer that. I do offer a 30 complimentary session to see if what my style of I'm a connection coach,
Okay. Yeah.
life coach, but coined it connection coach. So if they do want to see if my style of coaching resonates with them, I do offer a 30 complimentary session. And then we can go from there.
So that's coaching with
With
parents,
parents,
or moms or
moms, single moms, anybody really. But my niche, my passion is with single moms and parents. I feel like that's a huge thing. I'm really passionate about conscious co-parenting. I feel that that's such a need right now in our society, especially with everything that's going on. Like there's so many people it's either this is bringing people together or breaking people apart. And within families, I feel like the conscious co-parenting is so needed. Like it's huge.
right.
Yeah.
Well, because really any couple, now that you say that, I see like any couple, even if they were married or not, they're consciously co-parenting, right? So it's
Yeah.
something that everybody can learn from. But I hear you too, that those of us who have separated or divorced or never were married and we're doing it not in the same homes, that is a new or a frontier that we could use even more support into. So, wow. So, okay. So people can reach out to you for one-on-one coaching, helping them be focused on their connection with their child and their connection with themselves, and a lot of what you've talked about.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And do you have any group things that you're doing?
I'm going
or
to start it
about?
once I move. Once I
Okay.
move, I'm going to be
So
launching
people can stay posted.
most likely in November. I'm going to be launching my online. It's called Soul Mama's Love Tribe, and so it's a 12-month mastermind And so I'm going
Okay.
to be taking, usually I meet in person, but because of all this, it's going to be online. And
Okay.
so I figured, yeah, November is when I want to launch it so that I can
Yeah.
be online and empower single moms with their self-love journey. And they'll be given my book as part of it.
Okay.
And yeah, and then people can reach me on Facebook, Tangee Zenryka Veloso. It's Zenryka, so Tangee Zenryka Veloso, or they can get me on Instagram at Tangee Connection Coaching.
Okay. Yeah. And will you mention the name of your book one more time too?
Yeah, it's Taming Your Wild Child: 7 Proven Principles for Raising Connected and Confident Children.
And that's available on things like Amazon, I'm figuring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Gosh. Well, thank you so much, Tangee. This was
Uh,
amazing.
Thank
I knew
you,
it would be.
Laura Jane.
And please thank Andrick too for,
Yeah.
his support today in helping you
Yes,
guys make
it
it
was
happen.
perfect. Because
Okay.
this is what life is right now in the global awakening is we are in tight corners with each other. And
Right.
how
And
can we respect each other's space? And that's another thing I want to add. This is my work. This is my work, but who's to say that gaming and talking to his friends right now because he can't be with them isn't his work?
absolutely. And just as important. So I love that that happened. That was actually so perfect that
Yeah.
it just like modeled something. It was perfect. So
Yeah.
we got the universe on our side. Okay. Well, I love you and thank
I
you so
love
much
you
for being here.
too.
And I look forward to, the people who are receiving this. Thank you for being here. And feel free to share with anyone who you feel like could benefit, those of you who've been with us. So,
Yeah.
all right. We'll see you soon. And thanks again, Tangee.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Much love to you, Laura Jane. Thank you,
afternoon.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.